always keep asking me about all my recipes. I'm always posting pictures on my Facebook and Instagram, and I've gotten a lot of requests for people to maybe just see what I do in the kitchen, and I know that you guys can do it yourselves. Obviously, I'm not a chef or anything like that, but I just love to cook. It's a hobby of mine, and I thought maybe I'd start a little cooking channel to see if anybody actually wants to see how to make quick, easy dinners at home. And maybe just incorporate some different foods that you may maybe not have thought of to eat. So we'll get started. Today I'm going to do a Swedish meatball. I know sometimes Swedish meatballs are either in a sweet sauce or more of a savory sauce. This is more of a savory base. I use ground chicken in it, and I'll put a picture of all the ingredients that I used in it. And I'll be clipping it to make it kind of short so it's not too quick or too long for anybody. And anybody has any questions, just obviously comment below the video and just let me know if you guys like it or anything I can add or change or make it better. Okay, so we're going to start. I already kind of prepped. I have just 2 pounds of ground chicken. 1 pound is usually great for just 2 people. I'm only cooking for 2, but I like to bulk meal a couple days in advance. I usually do like maybe 2 days ahead of time or even 3 sometimes because I do work night shift. So I try to bulk ahead of time for my husband and I, just so I really don't have to worry about meal prepping. So you're going to use 2 pounds of ground chicken. I'm going to start by adding, you can either use 1 egg or 2. It's kind of the same thing as you're making meatballs. So all I'm going to do is add 2 eggs. I don't really like to measure very often. If you're somebody that really likes to like harp on measuring stuff, this probably is not the channel for you. So I am not a measurer. So I do panko. You can use regular breadcrumbs if you want. Again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. If I need a little bit more or need a little bit less, I'll kind of throw it in there. I always start with a little bit less and then work from there. I take some onion powder. Again, to your liking. Some people like more onion. Obviously, you can't taste this because it's raw chicken, but what I like to do is I kind of go by smell when I'm cooking. If it smells good, then I'll obviously add a little bit more seasoning or a little less. The last thing I added was some onion powder. This is just some salt, and I just have some pepper here. In the Swedish meatball, because it's more of a savory recipe, I use the Worcestershire sauce. I think maybe I'm saying that right. I like to add some to my meat too. It's going to go in the sauce, but I try to flavor a little bit of my meat a little bit before. Again, I am eyeballing this. It is not a intense, complicated recipe. It's very, very easy and very, very basic. And then all you're going to do is kind of mush it together. Take off my ring. And then if you notice it is kind of a little wet, you can really probably just go like, I think it's like a pound of ground chicken for 1 egg, 2 eggs for 2 pounds. If it feels a little wet when you're cooking it, when you're actually mushing it together, you can add a little bit more panko just to dry it out a little bit. And it feels a little wet, so I'm just going to add a little bit more panko. You want to make sure, because when you're rolling them, you don't want it to be too sticky. You want it to be like just firm enough to where you can actually roll them. And again, you can't eat this. Some people want to eat raw meat, do your thing, not for me, but I kind of just go by smell, so I kind of just smell it. And I can definitely smell the Worcestershire in there. I can smell the garlic and the onion powder that I added, so I personally think that it's seasoned enough. Again, to each his own. Everybody's different. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to roll these into balls, and then I'm going to place them into a skillet that's already heated on the stove. Okay, so what I have going right now is I already made the chicken meatballs, and I have them in a pan on like medium heat. And all I did was I'm just sauteing it in a pan with just plain olive oil, nothing in it, so you guys can use whatever you want to cook with as your base. I also have a water going that's boiling that I added my egg noodles to. I use egg noodles. You can use any type of noodles. You can use pasta, elbow, whatever you guys want to use. For the sauce, I just like using the egg noodles, like the dumpling size. They're just super cheap, and I like them, and they're cholesterol free. Okay, so this is boiling. Another tea over. The meatballs will get like a nice golden brown texture on the bottom of them. So I'm just flipping them over and rotating them around. To just try to make sure the bottom halves of the other sides get to be the same golden brown. Texture. So all I'm doing is just waiting for the chicken meatballs to finish getting brown on both sides. And then once that's done, I'm going to pull the meatballs out and start the base of my sauce. That I'll show you guys how I make. And then again, I'm just waiting for my egg noodles to get done. And then once those are done, I'm just going to strain them and put them off to the side. Again, you can always heat them up on the pan, just in a pan with some olive oil to heat them up, or the sauce is going to be super hot to heat the noodles. And again, I don't like super scorching hot noodles, so pouring the sauce on top of the noodles will kind of like rewarm your dish and kind of cool it down a little bit, that your noodles aren't super, super hot. I'm just going to kind of put the lid on top of my meatballs and kind of let the steam kind of cook the chicken for me a little bit. I normally would have my vent fan on, but honestly I think it'll be way too loud over you guys being able to hear me. And then I'm just waiting for the chicken meatballs to cook evenly on both sides. Again, they don't have to be fully cooked through when you start making the sauce. The meatballs can always boil in the sauce, and that'll actually help make it a little bit more tender, to be honest. And again, I'm just going to keep stirring my egg noodles. I always add a little olive oil in my water with noodles. You can always add some salt in your water as well, because it's pretty much a good time to season your pasta. If you've ever watched cooking shows, which I'm sure that you have, that's just what they say. Okay, so I'll show you guys a close-up of what the meatballs are supposed to look like. They're going to be a nice, feels a little scary in this picture, but they're supposed to be like a nice kind of golden brown. You can kind of see them up in there. And then what I'm going to do actually is, they're not 100% fully cooked yet, but I'm just going to put them inside of a glass bowl and cover them with aluminum foil. I like the flavor from the chicken just to kind of add with my stock and cream for the sauce. Obviously these are hand rolled, so they're not going to be perfect, but you can kind of see a close-up. They're like a golden brown. Some of them got a little bit more cooked, but my husband actually likes super crunchy and overdone things. So if I ever actually mess up with garlic or anything, he actually really enjoys it. So that's good. Works in my favor. So I'm just going to take the meatballs and I'm just going to cover them to keep them warm. You can always pop them in the oven too, just to keep them warm. Get my aluminum foil to work. Just gonna kind of let them sit for a few minutes. The steam also from the inside of the bowl will kind of help keep them cooking as well. So base of my sauce, you want a little bit more medium heat because you don't want it to heat too quickly. You're going to add a couple tablespoons of butter. Again, I'm not one that's going to measure. If I could, probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons. I'll know more because I'm going to be adding flour because I'm going to be making more of a roux. So I add the pats of butter to my pan. Let's turn that heat down a little bit. I don't want it too strong. I'm doubling the recipe because I'm using 2 pounds because I said I want to kind of stockpile what I'm making for the week. And again, you can use like vegan butter, whatever type of butter you want for the recipe. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to let the butter melt. I'm just going to rub a spoon for my flour. So this is going to be a roux, which is more of like the base for the base of the sauce. It's actually really easy to make. I know people get scared like when you say roux, but it's really actually not that hard to make. Just checking my noodles. They're done. I don't want them to get overcooked. Pull these off really quick and put them in my strainer. Give yourself a nice facial. So I'm just going to take some regular flour and I'm going to add it to my pan. So what I'm actually going to do is reposition the camera so you guys will actually be able to see what I'm doing for the roux itself. Okay, so here's a close-up of my pan. Obviously it's got some chicken bits in it and everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm just grabbing a couple tablespoons of flour, and you're going to grab a ladle as my camera falls, because you can tell I'm not a professional camera person. Alright, try that again. So, as you can see, my butter melted, and I'm just going to grab a whisk, and you can see I still have some chicken bits in here. I really feel like it adds a lot of flavor. So I'm going to grab a pretty nice heaping tablespoon of flour, and what this is it is like the roux. Again, I'm not a professional chef. If this is really not what it's supposed to look like, that's perfectly fine in my life. It still tastes good at the end of the day. From what I understand, it's just supposed to be your thickener. So when I add my broth and cream to the sauce, it's just supposed to make it taste nice and thick and, I guess, creamy and yummy. In theory, I suppose. Again, I'm not a professional chef, I just enjoy cooking. Just add a little bit more, it's almost there. So it's pretty much like a nice, like thick consistency. Pretty much what I want. I don't need my sauce to be like super thick. If you have issues with your sauces getting thick, it's not like too big of a deal. Just add a little bit more. Again, I'm just using a regular like spoon. Again, I'm not good at measuring things. It's just not my forte. And I think it's kind of the better way to cook because you can kind of flavor it to what you like. Just going to get a little bit thicker. a time because I don't want to overdo it and make it too thick, and then I'm kind of at a loss. But again, even little mistakes, you know, they still taste good, so. And that's like a good enough thickness for me. Again, everybody's different. Doesn't have to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir in some beef broth. I kind of do a little at a time, because I still want to kind of keep my sauce kind of thick, but again, if your sauce turns out to be kind of thin, and mine does sometimes, it's really not the end of the world. Again, this might not be exactly what it's supposed to look like, but it's fine. This is just a normal 32 ounce, just a 32 ounce container of beef broth. I like a lot of sauce, so I always overdo it. Personally, because I also double this recipe too. Just kind of work around my chunks. What's also supposed to make this sauce creamy is using heavy cream. I personally do not like using heavy cream, and mainly because it's like super fattening. So I go with half and half, which is probably why my sauce doesn't come out like crazy thicker, and it thins out my sauce a lot, but it's fine. I don't mind having a little bit of a thinner sauce to feel a little less guilty about eating a creamy pasta dish. So I try to, you know, cut corners when I can to eat a little bit healthier. Again, not all my recipes are going to be amazingly healthy, but I try to make good decisions. But again, a ton of my recipes are always using ground chicken. I rarely ever use beef, to be honest, unless I'm doing like a pot roast or my mom's meatballs. She always uses beef. That's like regular Italian pasta and meatballs. So that will be coming hopefully in a video. And again, I just kind of keep adding sauce to my pan off and on and kind of stirring it. I don't want it on a crazy high heat. I just have it on low. I don't want my sauce to burn. I don't want my milk to curdle when I add the half and half. So you don't want like an aggressively high heat on this. I do have other seasonings to add to the sauce. I'm just waiting to do it until I kind of get to the texture and consistency that I want. I'm almost like, have like a quarter left of this 32 ounce, so I probably used quite a few cups. So I'm just going to kind of let the sauce kind of sit for a few minutes and kind of simmer until I get some bubbles, and then I'll start adding the cream to it. Just turning the heat up a little bit. In the meantime, as I'm waiting for this to kind of simmer up a little bit, I'm going to take my noodles that are sitting in the strainer. I'm going to put them back in the pot with a little bit of olive oil so they don't get like super sticky and gross. Okay, it's starting to simmer a little bit in the middle, which is good. And my sauce is kind of re-thickening. I can feel, I know it looks kind of watery, but again, I told you, it really doesn't matter if you want like a super thick sauce. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I know people stress about it, but to be honest, I'm always focusing on flavor more than exactly what my food looks like. Again, I'm not a chef. I'm not looking to impress anybody. I just want food to taste good, and my husband eats it, so apparently, hopefully it's not awful, and he's been lying to me for 11 years. I'm just kind of letting that sit for a few minutes. We can season it a little bit. I'm just adding some ground pepper. I like a lot of pepper. I'm not going to add a ton of salt to this because there's already a lot of salt. I get the reduced sodium. I actually forgot to get it this time. The reduced sodium broth. I like a lot of pepper. Again, if you're not a pepper person, just don't add pepper to it. Completely up to you. See how my sauce is starting to get re-thickened from the roux, which is awesome. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the Worcestershire sauce. Again, if I'm saying that right, if I'm not, it's fine. I'm just going to take a couple dabbles, probably more than a couple, because I really like the flavor of it. If you're not a big fan of it, then just add a little bit. And then, there's the way it smells. It smells so good. Okay. And then you're going to use some Dijon Mustard. Again, I'm not measuring. I'm just kind of squirting some in here. Probably a couple tablespoons. Again, I'm not a measurer. If this is something that's critical to you, this is not going to be your favorite channel. You can see how beautifully thick my sauce is. It's actually some of the nicest sauce mine's actually ever come out to be. I'm smelling it. It smells awesome. It's exactly what I want it to smell like. I'm going to turn down my heat because once I add the cream to it, I don't want it to curdle in the sauce. So I'm going to turn down my heat. And again, I have half and half in here. It just kind of helps make the sauce a little bit lighter and not so dark. And again, this is just a normal 32 ounce of half and half. You're not going to use all of it. I told you, I love a lot of sauce in my meals. I just think it tastes so freaking good. So I just add a good amount. I kind of like fill my entire pan because I absolutely love sauce. And it just kind of looks pretty. My taste tester is my husband, so normally if he's home, I will have him take a spoonful of whatever I'm making because I actually really don't taste my food. I know it might sound really weird. I always go by smells. I don't really ever taste things. I eat nibbles of my food, but I don't really ever taste what I'm making. I know it sounds awful, which is why I'm not a chef, but I feel like if it smells good, it's going to taste great. So that's my philosophy. Yeah, just slowly add that cream in there, and then you're going to have this like really, really pretty, I know it looks like super, super bright, but it's really not. If I kind of turn it's kind of like more like a golden brown color. And again, I'm just adding a little bit more cream, so I want to make sure I have enough sauce in there, because, as I said 20 times, enough sauce. And that is like a perfect amount of sauce. Because you need to leave room because I'm gonna be adding meatballs back to this, so you don't want to add way too much liquid to it. But you can always add a little bit more as you're cooking. I'm gonna take my meatballs that have kind of been chilling in their bowl, and I'm gonna add them back to the sauce. Again, I told you I probably make way too much sauce, but I'm a saucy person, so. And again, if you're going to use 3 pounds of chicken, it's probably a better bet. But I still did not use the whole 32 ounce of either cream or beef broth. So because your noodles are going to soak up the sauce too, so that's why I make extra. I just really don't like having dry. Whoop. I don't like having dry noodles. I just eyeballed that perfectly. That's like kind of full, like at my limit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm literally just going to let this simmer in the pan and let my meatballs finish cooking. And what I normally do is I'll pull a meatball out, like one of the larger ones, I'll pull one out and cut it in half and see if it's still a little bit of pink inside. I'll obviously throw it back in and I use a different one to cut and see if I'm a little closer to them being completely cooked. They're pretty much almost completely cooked when I pull them out of the pan anyway. I just kind of let them simmer just to, again, kind of infuse more of the sauce in the meat and let them chill. So I'm going to cover these and let them simmer and come back in a couple minutes. Okay, so I just took one of my meatballs out and I cut it in half and they're fully cooked, which is awesome. So the last thing to the dish is adding some freshly cut parsley. It's just actually a really, really nice flavor and it kind of brightens up the dish a little bit. I'm not one to add herbs to everything, but it actually really complements the meal. And I kind of just work it around. Adds a little bit more of a pretty color to it. I just got one batch of parsley. You don't need a ton of it. I just got one batch. Again, you can leave it out if it's not your thing. I just like it. I think it adds actually a nice little flavor to the meatballs and the sauce. I just cut like a little bunch and have that ready to go. I usually serve this just in a bowl. You can put it in a plate or whatever you like to do. So, just gonna grab a bowl, grab some of my egg noodles. Actually, we'll try my sauce. It's really good. My husband's usually my go-to person for all my sauces, so if it tastes good, I know it tastes good to him. Babe, do you want to try this? And tell me what I need. He's on the couch listening to me be awkward for this whole video. Just try and tell me if I need to add anything. That's good. Do you need anything else? Good? Okay. Alright, husband approved, so we're good. So I usually do about like 3 meatballs. I'll kind of go back for more if I need more. Again, I told you I like a lot of sauce in my dinner. I kind of got like 3.5 because I got the one that I cut. Again, not a great and formal presentation. Not a chef. I just like to cook. So, Swedish meatballs. Pretty simple, pretty basic. Hope you guys enjoy. I know I'm going to. And I'm going to dive in a little bit right now because I'm actually really hungry. Kind of see how I like. Hope you guys enjoy. Delicious. Because I'm awesome. Final product. Kind of looks like slop, but it's awesome. It tastes really good. If you guys have any suggestions or anything that you guys want to see next, I'll be posting probably like a video a week to start out with and see if you guys enjoy it. I'll be doing foods, savory dinners, as well as desserts and things like that. Fun stuff, easy stuff for you guys to be able to do at home. Okay? Any questions? Just send me a message. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.